All right, Hamza Youssef, Luke, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Now, he denied any wrongdoing over alleged bullying, but decided a return to duty would have been impossible. With Phil Gormley gone, the focus is not only on who will replace him as Chief Constable of Police Scotland, but whether that person will be capable of healing the wounds. It's been a troubled time for both the force and the body charged with overseeing it, the Scottish Police Authority. It was the SPA which recommended Mr Gormley should be allowed to return to work in November. This was later reversed after Justice Secretary Michael Matheson questioned the decision process. Well, I'm joined now by the former SNP Justice Secretary Kenny MacAskill, who was responsible for bringing in the single force plan. Well, Kenny MacAskill, this is hardly very satisfactory from a public point of view, is it? I mean, the public we've got the resignation of a chief constable. We don't know why he's resigned. We don't know whether the allegations against him have any merit. We don't know who made those allegations, and it looks like we will now never know.
Well, it's highly embarrassing for the senior echelons of Police Scotland. It's unedifying and doubtless debilitating for many who serve within it. But I think it has to be put in the context. Out with the Holyrood bubble, Police Scotland are getting on with the day job. There's a 43-year low in recorded crime, and despite the additional pressures they face, Police Scotland's continuing to do a good job. But you're correct, these events are unseemly to say the least, and the sooner they can put them behind them and get on with just doing the job, the better.
But you say put it behind them. That's pretty much what Susan Deacon, the new head of the SPA, said. But surely, if the Police Scotland and the bodies which regulate it are going to restore public trust, putting this behind them is not enough. We need to know what on earth has been going on.
Well, I think public trust within the police service actually remains considerably higher than
I said in the leadership. I'm not questioning that people trust police officers and the beat. But the leadership of the Scottish Policing Authority and of Police Scotland. Surely the public has a right to know why the second chief constable in 5 years has gone.
Well, I think there's clear issues there. That's something that Susan Deacon, as chair of the SPA, will need to decide, and indeed what PERC will need to decide what they release. But he's gone, and I think she, understandably, and I think quite correctly, is just getting on and making sure that the organisation performs as well as it can, and the organisation, in terms of Police Scotland that she oversees, continues to do the good job that there is. I do think you're right. There are some aspects that probably, for clarity, should be exposed. There's a parliamentary committee that exists to oversee this, and they can doubtless drill into it. But I think at the end of the day, what Police Scotland really needs is some stability at the top. They've got that now with Susan Deacon in at SPA, and I think that's a good thing.
See, you say stability, but to many people watching this, this just looks like them being the people who run things, telling us as usual, look, move along, there's nothing to see here, it's none of your business, we'll sort it out and it'll all be fine. And surely in a policing system in the early 21st century, that's just not good enough.
Well, you can't stop the Chief Constable resigning. I personally think it's long overdue and it was the right thing to do, but he's now chosen to go. And equally, there comes a time where the effort and resources of Susan Deacon have to decide whether they go into raking over old sores, or indeed in getting on and making the organisation as good as it can be. I think there's a role for both. I think there has to be some investigation and clarity, and there's issues there that have to be looked at. But as soon as Mr Gormley decided that he was the issue, which he was, and that he's gone, he also seeks to be a contracted employee, and there's little that can be done.
Why do you seem to suggest there that you were not only pleased he's gone, but he should have gone earlier? Why?
Well, I think he was becoming the issue. It was quite clear it wasn't just one complaint, it was many complaints. I also personally think that Mr Gormley brought in a style that was wrong, and even if no wrongdoing was ever found, and I tend to think that he is a policeman of great service elsewhere, but I think his management style didn't fit, and how he was running Police Scotland was wrong. I think it was very dictatorial. I think it was top down. I think he was humiliating staff in the presence of others. You wouldn't accept that in any walk of life, whether it's in the BBC, whether it's in the police service or anything else.
He was humiliating staff in the presence of others. So are you saying the complainants were actually right?
Well, at the end of the day, I think the complaints are neither here nor there. I think many of the complaints would be probably held to be lacking in substance or not to reach the threshold for a disciplinary action. I think Mr Gormley's failures was actually in how his management style was. It was a failure of style rather than perhaps particular actions.
Hang on a minute. I mean, this just gets more opaque by the moment. I mean, you know, you're saying that many of the complaints wouldn't have met the threshold, yet the guy's resigned, you know, and you say you don't like his style. Well, sorry, he was appointed as the chief constable. You don't sack people or force them out of an organisation just because you don't like their style.
But he resigned. Nobody, you know, that was his choice. You can't hold him back from that. But it was quite clear that he was failing to deliver. He has almost, as I say, been on this so-called special leave.
What was he failing to deliver?
Well, I'm not the one that you should ask about that. I've not been Justice Secretary since November 2014.
Yeah, but you just said it.
Well, I watch and read the same press as you, and perhaps I know a few more other people. What I'm saying is I think there's some doubt as to whether the complaints would have reached the standard that would have been necessary for disciplinary action.
Well, but you said he failed to deliver.
Yeah, you asked me the question, if you can let me finish. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a problem in how he was running Police Scotland, because clearly he was failing to do so when he was creating a disharmonious organisation. So in that management level and that management criteria, he failed to deliver. Whether that means he would have, you know, been guilty of, you know, formally breaching any specific charges is a separate matter. But as I say, I think he failed because he, you know, became the issue. Police Scotland was an unhappy ship at leadership level, despite the fact that it continued to function on the ground. And I tend to think that was down to others, not to him.
Right, but if some of these complaints, in your view, probably didn't meet the threshold, the other thing I don't understand, I'm sure the public doesn't understand, is why it takes so long. I mean, if there are allegations of bullying, why did it take months and months and months of Phil Gormley being on gardening leave to get to the bottom of it?
Well, I can't answer that. You would need to speak to the SPA or PERC, and I tend to have some sympathy. I think in these things it's moved shamefully slowly. It has to move faster, not simply, as I say, for the benefit of the organisation, but for the rights of Mr Gormley himself. So, yes, I think questions there need answers as to why this matter took so long.
How can we have any confidence that whoever is appointed as the next chief constable, that he or she won't meet the same fate as Phil Gormley?
Well, I can't give you any guarantee about that, but we do know that Police Scotland is continuing to deliver. They've had remarkable successes, both in tackling serious crime, tackling violent crime, keeping Scotland's communities safe. They're a good organisation. Right. I think we should have some greater trust in them.
All right, Kenny MacAskill, thank you very much.